Hello, welcome to another edition of the Talking Basketball podcast. I am Mark. And there is no Paul here today. And the reason is, unfortunately, we've had to substitute him out because Paul's had a little bit of an injury. A basketball-related injury, some would say. Some would just say sloppy defensive work. But either way, he can't join us today. So unfortunately, we've had to sub Paul out. And with that, number 10 leaves the court to be replaced by number 7, Elliot Bridgman.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Elliot, welcome.
Nice to be here.
This is a very unusual scenario. Paul is out for this foreseeable, and he said, let's get Elliot in, because Elliot likes a good chat. So here you are.
Absolutely. Nice
And
to be
we've known Elliot for years and years and years and years and decades from college. So, Elliot, you have been tasked. We gave you some homework.
Yes.
And said, go watch some of these games. And he's like, well, I already watched these anyway. So let's see what it comes up with. So why don't you take it away with this week's BBL update?
Excellent. Right, we'll start off with the first game of the week we're looking at. It was back on Thursday. Surrey Scorchers versus the Sharks. It was a real slow start to the game. Neither of the teams could get into a flow. Both of them really struggling to score. The Sharks managed to get themselves off in a little bit of a lead. I think it took Surrey almost 5 minutes to get their first basket.
This was in Sheffield as well.
It was, yeah. So it's a home game for Sheffield. Both teams seem to have struggled on the road this year. Sheffield have had a better performances at home, but yeah, it was just one of those games where you really didn't see either team making much of a headway into sort of taking a big lead. Finished, I think the first quarter was 20-9. Surrey just could not get into any sort of rhythm. And yeah, just really struggled to get going. Fairly uneventful second half, and yeah, just couldn't get things moving. It looked like in the third quarter, Jameson was starting to make some real efforts, crashing the boards, getting rebounds, seeing if they could get back into the game that way because they just weren't sinking baskets they'd normally score.
Oh really?
But even with those efforts, I think he got like three offensive rebounds and managed to get baskets off those, but they still couldn't quite creep back into it. And then, at the beginning of the fourth, end of the third, Pipkins ended up lighting up, scoring 3 straight 3-pointers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then just sort of reaffirmed their lead towards the end of the third quarter.
Well, what's interesting if you look at Sheffield and Scorchers, Sheffield are 6th in the table at present, and the Scorchers are 8th. But they're separated by one win.
Yeah.
That was the win.
Yeah.
So if you think of that in terms of where they'd sit in the playoffs, we're coming towards the playoffs and in the championship. I mean, London Lions have officially won sort of the league in a way, but the playoffs and everything and the cuts still to come. Which does beg the question: what do you think? Is the league actually mean anything?
I think it's different to how, for example, the NBA do it, where they do announce a league winner. But then you also have the playoff winner. I think it's worthwhile. I like the way that it is. It gives teams something to play for, even when you've got a runaway winner in the league to make that decent run in the second half of the season to get yourself in a good position going into the playoffs, because you don't want to be going in up against the Lions in the first round. You
exactly.
You want to be trying to avoid them until you get to that final. So you want to be pushing yourself up as far as you can.
Well, this is the thing. If you say that at the moment in terms of pushing up against the Lions, so if you're in 8th position, you're pushing up against them.
Yeah.
That's where Surrey is sitting.
Yeah, you're asking for to go out in the first round,
and that's how critical that game is. And you think, when you've got those sort of games, you really want to be winning those because that's going to push you up on into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And although they're only one behind, Surrey actually have played an extra game, so Sheffield have a game in hand.
Oh, so even though they're just that one win, if Sheffield get a win in that next game as well, it's going to be
extends that lead, which makes such a difference. And that's
especially this time in the season.
So it looks more and more likely that someone like Surrey are going to be pushing up.
Although the only thing, Surrey are one of the teams that have managed to get the 3 or 4 losses that London have had this season. So one of them was against Surrey. So could they get that in the playoffs? I don't know. It's unlikely they're going to turn it on.
But I mean, Surrey have got this very good reputation for sort of turning it on when I'm not saying not when they need to, but they have these like brief moments.
Yeah.
Brilliance, and then it's all cohesion. You think, this is great. And
Absolutely.
Falls off the planet.
Yeah, when they're playing well as a team and they're moving the ball and not turning it over, and with them being a team that are heavy on the 3-point shots.
Yeah.
When they're dropping, excellent. They're, but you get off nights where 3 or 4 of you guys that would normally be scoring those 3-pointers aren't scoring them.
So what was the score on that one at the end?
The final score, that's a good question. I've got it noted down. The Surrey game finished 71-62. So it ended up being closer.
I was about to say, would you say that was because I think one of the things that I always think with the basketball game is that you can read the score and it's never always indicative of what
it doesn't give you a representation of the game. It looked, bar the second half of the game, it looked like Surrey were going to get absolutely, really walked over. Scoring 9 points in a quarter for a BBL team is, I've not seen anything as low scoring as that. Would you say
that was poor offense or good defense?
Combination of the two. I think, again, it's going back to
one way.
I would say poor offense, but then this is looking at modern basketball, the 3-point.
Elliot said you suck. That's it.
Definitely not. I've got a soft spot for Surrey.
No, he said you suck. That's it.
Throw me under the bus.
But I know you said offline it was one of the better games because you quite enjoyed watching.
Yeah, the to and fro.
The to and fro's of those games.
Yeah, and watching Surrey try and fight back as well. They never gave up. Like the whole game they played.
Especially for an away game. It's always tough, isn't it? If you go down and you're away.
And it's a decent journey for them from south, pretty much South Coast all the way up to Sheffield.
Yeah, definitely. And Sheffield's got quite a nice ground. It's a nice arena for them to play in.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Because Surrey obviously have the bleachers on the one side with the giant wall, which has its like imposing wall effect away. Not quite what the Clippers are trying to go for, but it's that same sort of wall thing. But I like that.
But no, it's an interesting game to watch.
Good. Okay. So I had the pleasure of watching Newcastle Eagles versus Manchester Giants. It was painful to watch that game. It was really painful.
Yeah.
Newcastle just tore them a new one.
And that was from like pretty much the tip off, wasn't it? They went up.
Yeah, it was savage. I was just looking at my notes. It wasn't. I can't explain. When you watch the game at first, like the first quarter, you think it's all right. I mean, they were really slow. It wasn't that good. Taj Green got this brilliant block, and the teams were not quite. I think there were like 2 points in it.
Was that the transition one?
Yeah.
But
in the second quarter, it's just like Newcastle went, we've got to properly play here.
Yeah.
And they just stepped on the gas, and they got like a 15-point lead, and they just kept it. There's a brilliant alley-oop from Jordan Johnson.
Yes, I remember seeing that one.
And that was, it was just...
Nicely worked play.
Ricky McGill to Green as well with another alley-oop, and that was just towards the end, just before the half.
Just before the half, yeah.
Beautiful. I want to give the highlight of that game. There's two things. One, I thought the Giants played terribly in terms of their defense.
Yeah.
And they were just giving Newcastle so much space to let them get in and just take all their shots.
You just weren't closing the lanes.
No, not at all. But this is the funny thing. Although I'm saying that, the next fact was that Devon Whitfield hit 7 threes without missing.
That's crazy.
In a row. And he was 8 for 8.
In terms of game.
Perfect game, 8 for 8. Yeah, I mean, if you've got someone you're saying, like, we can't close the lanes, but we're also, this guy's just
we can't leave him open.
He's literally hit 7 in a row, uncontested, hit him in a row.
Yeah.
It's like, pick one way to defend.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. So that's where they really exposed themselves. And that made Eagles sort of stand out and just went, they're at the top of the table.
Yeah.
Giants are not.
Yeah.
And it just was a gulf.
The Giants season's just, with the players that they've got, I don't know why it is they're struggling. They seem to have, they've got
some talent.
They've got some great talented players.
Really, really, really good people. But it's just, I mean, that was shocking. Absolutely shocking. But to have those that sort of stat where you go, someone on the team has taken 8 shots, hit all of them, and 7 of them were threes.
Yeah, that's
hit
crazy.
All of them went in. If that's the sort of stat that if you went, that Steph Curry did that, you go, sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's how difficult that is to do.
But even, for anyone to have a perfect game
is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really, really unusual.
Although, I think man of the match. I can't remember who it was. Look at my notes. Oh, I can't think who I wrote down was man of the match, but I am putting it out there as him. There's no question of that, because that is just filthy ridiculous. You can't be 100% shooting. No. But if you think they're by that second half just putting their foot down, they got to halftime and they were 21 points ahead, and then they just pulled it away.
Yeah.
And that final score, 109-77. It's 32 point.
Yeah. They were just continually adding to that lead throughout the game.
They made the lead, and then they did, which we don't always see as some of these other games may reveal.
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that was and that was in Newcastle, and for our friends Keith and everyone up in the Bald Eagles, I'm sure they'd have loved that game. But Newcastle, a lot of these home grounds, they clearly add something to the mix.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
The home court advantage in the BBL
is huge.
Is big.
Yeah, definitely.
When you've got those home fans, partisan crowds cheering on, it is the sixth man. As I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's they spur their team on. They get that little bit of extra performance out of them.
In fact, no one lost at home. Just looking at these stats, no one lost at home.
My next game.
Except that one.
I didn't want to point out your mistake too much.
Oh, do it. Everyone else does.
Onto the next game, which was the Gladiators against the Lions. Obviously, the Lions have won the league.
Yep.
That's a given. But the Gladiators are there. They're wanting to to be there and thereabouts. They want to get themselves back into that second position. They're jostling with Cheshire, trying to get that place back. And they started the game amazingly. They were out into a lead early on, managed to hold the Lions really well in that first quarter. The Lions were a few players down. They rested, who was it? Decker, Nelson, and what's his name? Iwade. So they rested three of their they're really good players. And brought Mo Solowade into action to as a defensive stop as much as anything. He's not had a huge amount of action this season, but when he's played well. And I think that the reasoning behind that is that they were trying to stop Gladiators, knowing that they were going to be making a push. They were going to at their home court, they're going to work hard against the Lions because they want to get that second place going into the playoffs.
Yeah, Caledonia got a strong team.
Oh, absolutely. However. They were down to, I think it was 8 or 9 players on the day.
Yes,
they had several injuries that kept players out, and some of their big players. So that was a bit of a shock.
Whelan was playing, was he?
No, Whelan wasn't in. I forget their big man's name.
DeBose.
And there's one other. I can't think of his name now. Ali Hodzic. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Oh yeah,
centre.
Yes.
Yeah, because they normally it's basically swap between him and Clifton Moore Jr.
Yes. Yes.
And without him in the game, it was. Yeah, I was thinking you were going to see Olanisi and Sharma just completely rule inside, but no, Clifton Moore Jr. really played well in that first half. He had an amazing putback dunk in the second quarter. A real highlight reel type. Just came out of nowhere on a rebound, and it looked like the Glads were going to run away with it. They had a good double figures lead throughout the whole game, all the way through to the early fourth quarter when London really switched on the afterburners and showed the depth of their squad. Managed to start scoring back, getting themselves really putting the pressure on defensively and scoring in transition. Yeah, really turned it on in that sort of the latter stages of the third quarter and especially the fourth quarter. Managed to get themselves a lead for the first time they had done since I think the second or third minute of the first quarter. And once they had that lead, just stepped on it.
I mean, when I'm looking at these numbers here in the box score, what I think's interesting is the number of minutes and sort of the player rotations you got. Mm-hmm. The usage that you've got from Caledonia, from Quade Green, and it's 31 minutes.
Yeah.
Bothwell is 32 minutes. Then you go, all right, what's London up to? You go someone like Matt Morgan, 23 minutes. Okay.
Top scorer in the league.
Josh Sharma, 15 minutes. Really? What about Morgan? 16 minutes. Okay, what about Sandy? 10 minutes. Okay, well, that's unusual. What about Olaseni? 21 minutes. Okay, so the depth of their bench is so vast.
Yeah, absolutely. You could swap anyone out for anyone almost, and they're going to perform well. The guys are better in the lines. All of them are just going to be better rested. You haven't got those people that are only coming on for sort of the garbage minutes at the end of the game. No. You've got people in the game evenly throughout. I mean, one thing to go back to is Matt Morgan's efficiency. To be the top scorer in the league and to be only averaging like 24 minutes a game is next level. It just shows the efficiency of the squad as well as the depth. When you've got those two things, you're going to be really difficult to beat.
There is one bit of contention, though, I'd say, of that game.
Oh, go on.
Where's Sam Decker?
I wonder whether in that game he's being rested for the European game that they've got coming up midweek.
Yeah, I mean, look, they don't have to prove anything with the league. They got one, and no one's going to take that away.
No,
so that does make sense. But some people are a bit miffed that he was already in the All-Star and he's been in the All-Star selection.
Yeah, and he's
where he's been off ill,
played minimal games.
He shouldn't be allowed to be selected while he was currently off ill.
No, yeah, right, yeah.
So that shouldn't, there he subbed in. Nothing against Sam. I quite like him as a player actually, but that's the way. Like same as a bead with his knee.
Yep, yeah.
If you're in it, you're in it. You're out, you're out. That's it. It's the way it is. But I don't know why, if you're playing the Gladiators, why you wouldn't be playing someone like them.
I wonder whether they knew about the Gladiators' injuries issues, so that they were going to be.
But wouldn't you run them out? Wouldn't you run them out?
Yeah, I guess it's one way to look at it.
Played competitively.
Yeah.
Like even give him if you're giving other people selections, giving them 10, 15 minutes, get them 5-10 minutes on the court.
But then I wonder as well whether the
he's not going to pick the injury again necessarily. He's not going to niggle it.
No, but then it's really difficult to question Bozic's decisions. He's tactically such a good coach. I wouldn't want to say there's any reason, any negative reason that he would have kept him out of the game, other than to boost his energy levels for the upcoming European game.
They've got such a deep team.
True.
That's we're talking about a player here who's in the All-Star game, who's one of the better players, and was MVP last year.
Yep.
And he's not even on the team lineup. Not that he wasn't even subbed in. He was not even on the team lineup. That's how deep their team is.
It's absolutely crazy. There was one game leading in. I think it's just before they took the trophy break, and I only recognised like 4 of the players that were on the squad. They rested so many people and could just pull in so many others. I think that was against was it the Flyers? Their last game prior to and still managed to come out with it was they lost the game. Oh, sorry, no, they lose the game. It was a close game, but they still they were competitive and only really played 4 players that I recognised. Well, getting
and they've had a couple of new players coming as well. Although they haven't played them as much.
No,
but again, Quade Green for Caledonia was superb.
Oh yeah, amazing player.
Really, really, really good player. I've watched one of the following games during the week, and got nothing but good things to say about that man.
No, absolutely,
very, very good. So, what was the score in the end of that?
Oh, that was 82-76 for in favour of the London Lions.
I mean, it's a 6-point game. Again, it's not indicative. Was that stretched at the end? Or?
It was that fourth quarter. I mean, for the Lions to go in, I'm sure they were down by almost 10 points going into the fourth. So that fourth quarter was what really turned it around. There was a big shift in that last quarter. They just switched it on. And again, the depth of squad, it may well have been down to energy levels as well. If you've only got 8-9 guys running the floor compared to 12 or 11 or 12 for London, fatigue could be a factor that comes into it as well.
Always makes me laugh when you look at the play-by-plays and you're going through, and then they have a certain bit in here and it will say timeout commercial, and you just think it just no matter where it is, like timeout commercial, just back quick, get a commercial in there.
Get something. We got to get those keep the commercial funds coming in.
Have you seen what the score is when they put a timeout for the commercial? 68-66. It's like, what? Don't do that.
No. let it play on a bit.
Everyone is absolutely like, it's a 2-point game, don't do that. We're in the fourth period. Where did that come from? But so it's 63-54 at the end of the third. going into the fourth. So they actually brought it back in a way.
Yeah, definitely. It was a big shift in that fourth quarter.
Nice, like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to the next one. Well, I had the dubious pleasure of Cheshire Phoenix and Patriots. I say dubious because the Patriots are not that great to watch.
They have their moments, but yeah,
no, they don't. They've lost their main. Forgotten the guy's name now. Going to kick myself, but he had a bad injury, and he's now gone back to the States to get his injury sorted.
Is that surgery required, do you think?
It's not a good one. It was a season ender, and I don't think it's going to be a career ender. But he was their big. I think it was Mason, I want to say. But yeah, he's gone now, and I won't say that was their offense and defense, but everything rolled in one.
Yeah.
They tried. Look, at the end of the day, they're playing Cheshire Phoenix. They won the trophy.
Yep.
They're a strong offensive team.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean,
and great movers at the ball as well.
What's funny was when you watch the game, the first quarter it's neck and neck, and Joe Hart came out, bang, there's a three.
Yeah, big 3 point. Yeah, I remember that one.
And then they get it to him again, bang, there's another three, and then they stop giving it to him.
It's like when you got someone who's hot.
It's like, as none of you played NBA Jam, you know the rule is the fireball. Like, give it to him.
Keep feeding that guy.
Give it to him. But they just, and the passing and the sloppiness that oh God, it was awful. I'm not even going to bring up stats about the turnovers and stuff because it was just painful watching it.
Yeah.
And it looked like clumsy basketball from like junior leagues.
Yep. Yeah.
Where the passes, they were like looking at someone and then doing a sloppy, and it was
just telegraphing it.
But the passes were lazy. They weren't even just like, let's launch one through. It was like a really lazy pass. And you think, I could read that.
Yeah.
Like anyone on the court's going to see that. And they know where the ball's going to go. And then someone will just get a hand to it.
And Cheshire are a quick team as well. So if you are losing the ball losing the ball to them in transition, they're difficult to keep up with.
100%. So when they started the second quarter, and it was pretty much neck and neck on the first, Cheshire got 9 straight points.
Yep.
Bang, 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 straight back to back. And then all the sloppy passings and everything, it just made it into just, it's just this dreadful game. There was one pass that they did, and I've got the name down. I've got to look it up if it's the right person or not. But it was a threaded pass to Wiley, and it was.
The bounce pass in was it a pick and roll? I can't remember now, but yeah.
Yes, and I want to say it was Copeland to Wiley. I think it was, and it just literally just bounced it through, but it was perfectly
threading the needle.
Perfectly threaded that needle. It came through, went right to where he needed it, up, bang. That was a great move. And then straight afterwards, they fumbled the ball on this ugly pass. And Aaron Wright just plucked it out and
just not capitalising on those baskets that they're scoring.
It was, and Cheshire didn't win that one. Really, it's just
Plymouth just let it go and lost the game.
They just fumbled it from start to finish. It was just dreadful. And if I was Plymouth, have got lots of things going on, but if I was looking at that team now, I'd be thinking, I don't know what we're going to do next year.
It's an awkward one. You don't want to be sort of just saying, "Oh, that's it, we're done for this season." You want to be fighting and working, regardless of where you are in the table. You want to be putting that effort in up until the very last game of the season.
I mean, Ethan Shargoy got player of the game, 20 points, 7 rebounds. That's deserved. 20 points, 7 rebounds, not to be sniffed at that. But I mean, just Plymouth lost it. I've put here, it was an aggressive start, and that was it.
Nothing else.
But thing is, you see, like Cheshire, it was, where they're going to put the ball. That's going to go over here. Okay, Aaron Wright's going to get it. Maceo Jack's going to get it. Who else going to? Skylar White's going to put up for a 3. It's like lots of these things were all predictable plays. They could see what was going to happen, and they just didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I remember seeing that Maceo Jack was left open in the corner several times, and it's like, that's his spot.
Don't leave it to him.
No.
And the free will that they had for Cheshire to just move the ball around, and they're very good at moving the ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's swing it over there. There's the ball, open man shot. And it was almost like watching basic basketball in a way, where you went move, 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 in.
Yep, fundamentals.
It was very, very fundamentals lift. And then from the other side at Plymouth, it was like they were learning basketball. And you had a couple of like really good moves, and then just some utter rotters. I just don't know what they were thinking. But yeah, I mean, there was one thing that I was in question of, and that was there was a foul called, and there was a chase down block. I think Wiley blocked Redu.
Yes, yeah.
And
off a Euro, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was like
just timed it really well.
Well, they said it was a foul, and I don't think it was. I would guess they were calling it body contact because he was going up, but I mean, it was all ball on that.
Riley was that high above him. Wiley was that high above him on the block. Yes, they did clash bodies, but nothing was going to put him off the shot. He was that was getting blocked any day of the week. Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I've got to say, it was. I think it's Ethan Shadur. I want to say. No, it's Ethan Chigua. But I've got to say, he was so good all the way through the game for Cheshire, because he's not a player that I know as well as some of the obvious names like Quincy. But when you look at it and you look at the stats, 20.7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 his player index, was like 19, which I don't never understand this why they do these things. But he's only 26 minutes, so as far as utility, they could have used him a lot more. Really efficient.
Yeah, really, really efficient play. And you suddenly think, when you've got people doing 22 points, 20 points, 11 points, 15 points, and that's across the team. Then when you go on to Plymouth, they've got a couple of people hitting 17 or 20. Shout out to Wiley and Atwood for their contributions, but that's it.
Yeah, the rest of the team, couple of points here and there, couple of rebounds. 5
here, 1 there, 10 there. You can see where having a stacked team like someone like London or Caledonia, that when you have a very deep team, Newcastle
it shows the difference of not class, that's not the right word, but just the difference of skill and ability.
Absolutely. Like if they want, let's put starting 5 on and run them 40 minutes. They
could do it. But at the same time, if they wanted to, they could switch out the whole 5 and still keep those leads that those teams that are at the top.
Yeah. Well, I've got one stat I wrote down about turnovers. I thought I'd forgotten it. 11 more Plymouth did 11 more turnovers than Cheshire.
Crazy.
11 more. I mean, Cheshire weren't great, but 11 more turnovers. That's
potentially 22 points if they're just scoring 2s off all of those. It's a big switch.
But that's a turnover to Cheshire, so Skylar's going to be hitting a 3 and someone else is going to be banging a 3. So even if you said 4 of those were 3s, it's a huge difference. A big swing, and that was just all sloppy play. But I mean, we've talked about Plymouth briefly and what they're going with the club. No one knows next season because they're losing the pavilion.
Yeah,
and
sad.
When you start losing your venue, where does the team go?
You just got to hope there's another venue they can move into. I really hope, because I like Plymouth as a team. I love to set up. Obviously, yourselves had Pat Wrights in, or Chris as it was for the interview just recently. I just really hope they can find something and keep the team going.
Yeah, I mean, it was Mason Faulkner. That's who I was thinking of. It was Mason Faulkner who's left. But when you start losing decent caliber play, like he was one of the strong contenders in the BBL, arguably one of their best players.
Yeah.
You lose that, you're losing your home. It's not a good vibe to have for a team. And you're sitting bottom of the table. We're not just a little bit bottom of the table.
You're a good bit behind.
You're a long way down the list. I mean, they've played 28 games, won 5.
It's not looking good this season.
No, it's not looking good anymore. But yes, so 95-73. That's only 22 points, but Cheshire just took off and kept their lead and just left it, really. Plymouth just sunk themselves in that second quarter and never looked back. So it was I'm not saying not a boring game to watch, but it was just frustrating to watch.
Yeah. But even saying that, I think the scoreline of like the was it 22 point difference, I don't think that's representative of the game. I think it could have been, it looked like a 40-point blowout.
I think if games like that, and there's arguments where you could say if you put a points difference on that, what would it have been? If points difference made a difference, yeah, you'd put another 20, 30 on there without thinking about it. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, on to your next game. You had some technical difficulties with it.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So I've been watching the games using the YouTube BBL page, and it was showing me that the game was on Saturday night. So I logged in, tried to view it, and there were other people that were commenting saying it's not working. And it was showing that the game was being streamed, but there was just nothing to watch. It was just that, like, the opening page. I tried again on Sunday and realised that actually the game wasn't tipping off until 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. So somebody at YouTube is going to be getting their wrist slapped for scheduling the game on the wrong day. But yeah, I should have looked at the BBL website to double check the timings. But yeah, we got there in the end.
Fingers on the pulse here. Fingers on the pulse.
There's me just watching a stream of nothing. But no, this was a bit of a turnout for the books. The Leicester have had a really good run recently. So out their last 10 games, they've won 7, only lost 3. The Bristol Flyers, the opposite. Out of their last 10 games, they've only won 3 and have lost the other 7. But it was a really good game.
Bristol they were up second, third, fourth. I was looking back through the notes just a minute ago, seeing where they were in the league, and it's like just watching a tumble from grace.
I think it was just going into the trophy. They just dropped off a cliff. Just in that last sort of few games going into the trophy, just disappeared. And I don't know why. They
had some big injuries, not too far into the season, probably week 5, week 6.
Right.
And that started hitting them. But even then, they were up at second place at that point. And then it just started compounding.
I guess although they've had those injuries, maybe the depth of squad was able to keep them up there for a bit. But then, Well, you also have the staggering of the games itself. So if you're playing Surrey and Patriots and you're getting your wins, and you've had injuries. Then after the injuries, you're playing. Yeah, you then
Cheshire
get London, Cheshire, and Caledonia back to back.
Exactly. Then you're suddenly losing 3 or 4 straight away.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that.
And I think that didn't help them. And they've got some really. I love their kit.
Yeah,
it's just like the Miami kit. I just love that. And I just think their media's really, really good. The way they do everything, present it. All the teams have stepped everything up.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Bristol have definitely fallen from grace on that. But playing Leicester, they wouldn't have wanted to do that. That was a home game?
It was, home game for Bristol. So they obviously they've got their pride to sort of protect in that game. They went out and started the game aggressively, and I think that was the biggest thing. They were going out there, they were driving to the basket. They weren't settling for jump shots. They were trying to go at the Flyers. At the Raiders. I'm getting the 2 names confused there, sorry. But yeah, really, really pushed at them. It was one of those games where you were expecting Kimball McKenzie at any point to switch it on and just turn the game around. He played well, but then managed to get himself into foul trouble again, which seems to be something that is happening with the Raiders recently. They've had a couple of issues with players getting fouled out, players getting technical fouls. Again, you're thinking at any point Teddy Buckets is going to go out and suddenly start sinking everything that he shoots. He didn't have a bad game, but he didn't shine the same as he has done in other games.
If he had, would that have made a difference though?
No, it was a blowout game. There was to the
that's
point.
That's what the scoreline says. When you've got that size deficit and you're going, one's over 100, one's just crept 70.
Yeah.
That's saying offensively we struggled.
But I think with the Flyers, they had several players. Who was it? It was Johnson. Had a 21-point game, matching his highest points scored in the season.
Oh wow.
You also had. I'm trying to think who was the other guy. Come back to me. But yeah, you had two.
You don't know it off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head on this one.
Fired.
It's because I stayed up on Saturday to watch the game that wasn't there, and making myself tired.
I'm going to throw Elliot under a bus here. The first game he did, he sent me a picture the next day, and he sent me a picture saying, "I've got my beer. I'm going to do that with my son. We're going to watch this game." And then the next day he said, I think I got carried away because I did 5 pages of notes for that game.
And it gradually sumped off, but no, I think I got confident with it.
Please don't make Paul and I look less professional than we already are, because we really are scraping the barrel already.
But that'd be achievement in itself.
Yes,
but no, it was.
would.
So yeah, the Flyers just, I think across the board, players just played as well as they could. They got themselves, season high scores, and really just played well as a team.
I mean, even just seeing that score sheet across the board here, where you're going 10 points, 31 points, 23 points, 15 points, 20 points. There's your starting 5.
Yeah.
That's where all the buckets are
starting 5 done it on their own.
They did it on their own, because everyone else there's literally 2 other scorers and they've got 7 and 2 points. That's it.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go into sort of Leicester, they had the similar sort of thing on the bench where it's like 3 points, 1 and 2. But their starters are just not getting the points there. 12, 15, 10, 20. I mean, that's low for them.
Absolutely. But yeah, Teddy Allen, what do you have? Oh, sorry, I'll take that back. I honestly thought Teddy Allen had higher points in that game.
10.
Yeah, for him, it's a third of what he's been scoring in a lot of games, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking I was thinking he was like on 15 or 20 or something.
Yeah.
And, that extra 10, it might not make. But even in an extra 20, they're still not. They're not breaching that gap. That's everyone else has got to step up there. People are getting 12, 15, 10. Yeah, that's not ideal, is it?
Again, in that game, I believe it was the rebounds that was a big difference. The Raiders were just not as aggressive on the boards, and turnover wise, there were some sloppy plays by them, losing the ball in transition.
Rebounds, 39 rebounds on Leicester and 52 for Bristol. So
yeah, you've got an extra best part of 20 opportunities to score. It's going to make a difference in the game, isn't it?
That's huge.
Yeah,
it is funny, isn't it? Well, they always come down to these basic stats. I know Paul loves like assists and steals and stuff as well, and seeing all those things. I love the free throws, and seeing how people are doing with that. I mean, there's some shockers here. Someone's 1 for 4. Bowman, 1 for 4. Leicester, Bowman. You got to get out there on the line, mate.
Yeah.
That's shocking. You shouldn't be 25%.
No.
If someone 50% and they took 2 shots, you're gonna miss 1. All right, that's fair enough. If it was like, if you took 4 and you missed 2, that's not good. You should be really hitting 3 out of 4. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
1 for 2, it's maybe more excusable if it was a, I don't know, pressure shot or something.
Bowman had a good game as well. It's surprising when he seemed to be on form in other parts of the game.
But Tevin Ollison, for example, free throws 9 for 11.
Yeah. It shows that difference. They say free throws win games, rebounds win championships. they beat them on both scores there.
Yeah, that's huge. Also, a big shout out to Bradley for 100% 4 for 4. Good boy.
Nice.
You did your driveway shots when you were little.
I was going to say, and with Brad Green in the team, you're always going to be getting a pretty much a double out of him.
Yes, yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's not going to mess around, is he?
Yeah, so you're getting opportunities to score with him, and you're getting boards, whether they're defensive or offensive. He's always up there. He reminds me of the old-fashioned centers as well. He's not messing around out on the 3-point line. He's getting stuck inside.
Which is funny though, because they still list him as like a forward on here. They list it as like 3 guards and 2 forwards.
Yeah. I mean,
and I find that funny still, that we said that we go to. I mean, we're diverting slightly, but everyone's saying it's positionless now. It's just 1 to 5.
Yeah.
But you say, well, who's your 5? And almost everyone puts a center as 5. You go, well, why don't we just do guard, shooting guard, point guard? It's like it always has
2
been
guards,
that.
Forwards.
It doesn't. Yeah, and who's the shooter? Well, everyone should be a shooter now. Yeah, but who really is the shooter? It's like, and there's only really, really rare. They always bring out like the Lucas or someone like that as the examples, and they go, or MJ or someone. You think, okay, well, what's Iverson? Well, he's a point guard.
Well, actually, he was a shooting guard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But everyone goes, well, but you had the handles. It's like, he was the shooter though on the team. That everyone forgets it. So you've got all these players that everyone holds up, and we're talking maybe 10 players. What's Kobe? Is he a point or is he a shooter?
I mean, he's running the ball up a lot
He's
of the time,
shooter.
but he's a shooter as well.
He's the shooting guard.
Yeah.
It's like, give me the damn ball.
Yeah.
he's taking the shot. No one else is taking the shot, but he was a shooting point guard.
Yeah.
And it's like there's almost like a new thing, isn't it? What's Luka? He's a flipping shooting
point
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is he?
Yeah. It is positionless, but at the same time, when it comes to running plays, you have to be in positions. So it's
what's Garnett?
Oh, yeah. Was he? Then Garnett's a funny one. I was watching something about this the other day where they were saying Shaq ruined the NBA or ruined centers in the NBA because. At the time, people were thinking, right, Garnett's going to come into the league as a centre, but nobody wanted to go in there and bang with someone who's, almost twice their weight and, has got size on them height-wise
You physically couldn't.
No. So players like Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett went, well, I'm not going to play centre. I'm going to play power forward, so I don't have to play against Shaq. And it don't get me wrong, it made the power forwards amazing, but then lots of centres you had teams that were just getting somebody in who was 7 foot and heavy. It didn't matter whether you could play basketball or not. They would just draft in somebody to try and slow down Shaq. And also, you might need 2 of them so that you can use their fouls between the 2 of them.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. 100%. Right. One more game.
Yes.
And then we've got a bit of NBA talk. So the final game of the week was Caledonia once again, and once again it was Newcastle Eagles. And Caledonia playing at home, so it's the second home game in a row. So that must have been quite nice for their supporters. They got a lovely arena up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
At Play Sport. So they won, and they probably needed that after that Lions defeat.
Yeah, especially. It was a disappointing defeat for them where they've been ahead most of the game, but yeah, they needed that bounce back win.
And, their defeat from Lions, if they had made that would have tipped them, potentially could have tipped them above Cheshire Phoenix. But Cheshire Phoenix are 1 point ahead of them, but they are 2 games behind them.
Right.
So Cheshire are ahead,
yeah,
like quite comfortably now with Caledonia.
And the way the Cheshire are playing, they're going to get at least 1 win out of those 2 games they've got in hand.
But if you look at it in the table, Caledonia, who they're going to play then? Well, they'll probably play Sheffield. They should walk that.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be too much of trouble.
Yeah, I think so.
But anyway, Caledonia versus Newcastle. It was a really good game. Really, really, really enjoyed it. But it's to be expected because they're 2 of the stronger teams in the league. When they were playing, I was thinking at first that Caledonia, just initially off of the back of the Lions, I was assuming Caledonia, I'm like, right, we're going to put our foot down. We're going to show them who's boss. And it was actually like not the first quarter, maybe those first 10 shots or so from each time. Wasn't really, no one was getting any traction, which surprised me.
Yeah.
Because I would think they would have more. I'd think they have more traction being at home and having that London defeat, but they just wouldn't get it. And I think that's a testament to Newcastle because, they're travelling. It is an away game in it's a brand new stadium, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Newcastle have got a very nice stadium anyway. So they're used to it having a decent sized crowd. They're used to a load of noise.
They're not going to be put off by it.
They're not going to be put
Not
off by
intimidated.
that. Which you would be if you were. There's a couple of other teams that would maybe be put off by stuff like that. Pretty much Surrey and Bristol.
Yeah, smaller arenas.
They're the smallest ones, yeah. So anyway, what I thought was brilliant was the first note I put down was about Clifton Moore Jr. and a massive block on the glass. Because I love defense. I absolutely love a defensive player. And that's in Q1. And I thought, okay, that is
setting the tone for the game.
Set the tone of the game. And Clifton Moore Jr. is, for me, he was my standout. He's always been high utility on Caledonia. But the way he just commanded that central location, it's like no one's getting in there.
No, easy. It's controlling the zone.
And Newcastle are a team that want to penetrate and they want to run and gun and they want to get inside that box. They don't necessarily like throwing up a big 3. They like just getting in there, getting the 2, get the safe pace, getting some of the big dunks as well when you got like Tash Green and people like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Their point guards are really good at driving and dishing as well. So like drawing the big defenders and then passing it off to somebody who's then got an open basket.
Yeah. Now, there was a big 3. Jordan Johnson, literally at the buzzer. I don't know if you saw it as a clip.
End of the first.
End of the first.
Yes. Yeah.
Literally just jacked it up.
Oh, it was a huge shot as well. It must have been 35 feet.
Well, what I thought was weird, it was one of those ones that you do like a playground shot, it looked like, where he was still sort of running, jumped from the 3, but he was still going.
Yeah.
And then
as
took
he
the
released
shot.
it, yeah.
So the release was sort of between the 3-point line and the free throw line kind of thing. Where
he actually let go of the ball.
Yeah. So it's always contentious there, 'cause, you know, well, it is a 3 because his foot was there, but it looks a bit awkward. But that made a big difference score-wise and sort of brought them in. But then that second half, it was just 1-2, 1-2. They just kept battling each other.
Yeah.
And I literally can't call anyone out other than, again, Clifton Moore Jr. getting another massive swap right at the very end of the half. And you thought, possibly, if they can keep their defense is stopping Newcastle's, their main attack.
Yeah.
So all Caledonia have to do is just play their offense.
Yeah.
So it's not Newcastle, it's literally theirs to lose, as opposed to all Newcastle could take this.
Yeah.
Newcastle just was stopped.
Yeah.
In Q3, Quande Green, amazing game. I've put his movement of the ball, shot selection, just stunning. And the way he plays with Clifton Moore and some of the others, the way that he just flows with that ball.
Yeah, the pick and roll with those two is really nice.
And you can tell that these people they're building like a system together where they're like, if I'm here, you're there. If I see you're going there, I know where you're going to be cutting. You can see that with
They're
them.
playing off each other really well.
Really
It took Quade Green a little while to warm to the league though, because he was a new signing mid-season, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That his first game just wasn't as standout as I thought it was going to be. However, it's in the few games that he's warmed into it really nicely, and seems to know how the league's played, how the games are played.
Well, even in the London game, he had a really strong game considering he was still
absolutely
new to the. You know, we've said before that British basketball has its own flow. Yeah, the same as European games.
Absolutely. Each league's a bit different, isn't it?
And I think it takes them by surprise sometimes that British basketball can be quite fast.
Yes, absolutely. You get a lot of transition plays. I think a lot of it is down to just how defense is played, where a lot of teams use a zone defense, but will quickly switch into man-to-man, which then leads to steals and transition plays.
There was actually a play during that game, in fact, where I believe Caledonia scored. I can't think it scored. I didn't write it down, but literally, they just got the ball. Newcastle got the ball, inbounded it straight up the other end.
Full length, full court pass almost.
Full court pass, bang, straight up. Let's get another win in the win. Oh, like they haven't even finished celebrating and they've got another one back.
Yes, so you may as well have not scored the basket.
And that was pretty much how the game went. It was just sort of end to end. But they started when they came out in that second half thinking, how are they going to change that? And what I was trying to put down was that they were like trying to break that traction, because it was, you score one, we score one, you score, we're 10 points ahead. Okay, we're now 8 points ahead. Okay, we'll score 2 back to back. Now we're 12 ahead. And it just kept inching. They'd get a little bit closer, then it'd inch away again.
So they catch up a bit and then, just open the gap again.
And there was, that was my one note, was there was a left-handed inside layup, which I respected, because you don't often see people going up on the left-hand side for the left-handed layup. And he actually chose that move. I want to say it was Deplesh, but most people, it's always like, he hasn't got a left hand, he's only right-handed. But to go in there to have that, and it was quite a strong move inside the paint. It had 2 people guarding him to go up, finish that off with a nice layup. That was nice.
The thing is, in the elite of British basketball, they should all be able to use both their right and left hand when it comes to, or their weak hand when it comes to finishing. But it is good to see.
I did have one that I looked up. I still couldn't find it, and I still want to know if it was counted or not, which was Malcolm hit a shot right at the very, very end. I don't know if it was counted or not. I don't think it was. I'd love to say it was, but I just don't think it was. But he hit an absolute giant 3 right at the very, very end, and from the corner. I don't think it counted. Doesn't look like it did. I think the buzzer went off at the very end. But Quade Green. That was he absolutely. It was. You could say Clifton Moore Jr. arguably was the centerpiece for that. He obviously is the center, but Everything went through Craig. He just managed that team.
Yeah. He was the facilitator and scorer as well.
Taking a Lions aside, almost all of the other teams in the BBL have someone who does that.
Yeah.
They will have that facility. They have the Teddy Buckets.
Absolutely,
you've got Luke Wincy. You've got all those players who will sit there and pull people out and say, you're doing this and I run the offense.
And that they can either take over the game and do the scoring, or they can distribute the ball and
100%. So, I thought it was really good. 4 blocks and 17 rebounds from Clifton Moore.
4 blocks is crazy.
17 rebounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
With 18 points. So it was double.
That's a big defensive play in that game. Yeah, all those rebounds and blocks as well.
Yeah, and all of those things are going to add up to them making that giant difference. With the first half, it was 12 points, and then they just carried it on. And so finally ending up, what was that? 98-80.
Yeah.
They just squeezed it, but they just kept that distance, and they just kept it moving all the time. No. It genuinely was a really good game because there wasn't too much sloppy play.
No, it was a good, I watched the highlights of that one, and I really enjoyed the game as well.
Yeah, I'd say the other 2 games I watched, I was pretty disappointed with the sloppiness, and certainly Patriots and Giants, they were bad. There were some, howlers from Cheshire and Newcastle as well, but those other 2 were particularly awful. Right, well, so ends our BBL update for this week. Elliot, thank you so much for standing in for Paul.
It was a pleasure, mate. Really enjoyed it.
It's a better looking model than the one I normally look at. Although Paul will probably argue. But anyway, if you haven't listened to any of our other episodes, go back and check it out with some of our episodes. We've got 83 now at the moment. We have some more coming up. But we will have more guests coming in Paul's absence. So keep tuning in, and we will be back with you soon. I've been Mark.
And I've been Elliot.